Hey guys, today we're doing another Cel Shading video. This time we're going to be looking at Mystique. So we do have a previous release of Mystique. She was a Walgreens exclusive, and then we now have the VHS animated cell shaded version of Mystique. Just like the other ones, I know not everybody likes the cell shading, which is why we're going to be removing it. Personally, I do like it. But I want to do it just to show you that it's actually pretty straightforward. Let's get into it. So first, what I want to do is show the current Mystique. So starting from head, we're going to move down. We can see that she has a shading across the chest, a shading on the side. We can see shading on the gloves and hands, shading down the skirt, which is also on the back side. And then we have shading on the boots as well. And just for a quick comparison to the original release, we can see that they are fairly different. Even the hair is different, and then the colors are quite a bit different. This gold on the original release is a bit shinier. This one is a bit flatter. And then we can even see that the boot design is a little bit different too. This one should be pretty straightforward because since this is white, then that should be fine. I'm pretty confident that the chest and the body are all also just white. So since we're just removing it, that should be an issue. I believe really everything that is white, like the arms and the boots, are also plastic white, not just painted white. So this should actually be a really straightforward remove. And then her alternate hands also have shading on them too. So just like the last video, I have the Winsor & Newton Brush Cleaner and Restorer. This is for acrylic and oil colors. This has been a great product for me, as with the acetone removal, while it technically works, you have to be really careful with it, just because if you let it sit for too long, then it can melt the plastic and it becomes a pretty major issue. But this doesn't have nearly that same problem. It's basically a much slower reacting acetone, and so all that means is that you can remove, and as long as you're not letting it sit for super long, then you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. So I have our product. I've got paper towels, I've got a little bowl of water, a brush, and an empty bowl. But this time, instead of the brush, I'm going to be using cotton swabs. Any cotton swabs should be fine. I also have the pointed cotton swabs on hand too. But just so you can see the pointed cotton swab versus a regular cotton swab, this is helpful when you're trying to get into harder to reach or really detailed areas. So as far as the boots go, if you look kind of close, you can see that white right there. And so that's white because they painted the blue on, which is why I'm pretty confident that wiping this cell shaded boot off should not be that big of an issue. All right, so let's just get right into it. All right, so got it off the foot. You may notice that I was wiping and then I dipped it into the water, and that's because it started pooling. And like I said, you don't want it to sit for too long. Not that it should be that big of an issue, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm actually going to use the pointed cotton swab to try to get where the paint goes right up to there, just to avoid getting into the skin of the character, because I don't want to remove that darker blue. I'm only wanting to remove the darker gray blue. Okay, there's the left boot that I completed and the right boot, which I've not touched yet. You can see that it's pretty much completely removed. get both boots completed, and we're just going to work our way up, and we're just going to start on the skirt. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the boot, and I'm actually going to start with the pointed cotton swab and start there, and then that way I can not worry about going downwards, and I can just go the whole way down, no big deal. So it seems like the skirt is made of a slightly different plastic. So I'm actually going to switch back to the brush just to get the skirt completed. Okay, so skirt is done. That was way harder than I was expecting it to be. Hopefully you don't think that's painted, that's just a shadow. All of the paint was just right down here. And for the sake of the video, I'm gonna just leave the back, but it's the same process. We'll go ahead and continue the rest of it though. So let's look at, let's see about getting the lower torso. So again, like I said, this is all white plastic and then painted on, so this shouldn't be too bad. So I'm gonna start by keeping it low, and I'm gonna twist it. So I'm not worried about getting it perfectly all the way up here, because once the torso is turned correctly, you're not going to see it anyway. So I'm just going to focus on the lower side of things. here's how it looks now. This side, you can see that the paint is in the seam where the figure pieces join. So there's not a lot I can do about that one. If I really wanted to do something, I guess I could get a toothpick or maybe some sandpaper and just kind of sand it out. But that's not unreasonable for me, so I'm gonna leave that as it is. Now we're working our way up, so I'm gonna go ahead and do around the breast area, and hopefully that's an easy knockout. Okay, removed from the breast. That came out really easily. It seems like that Hasbro made the breast out of a slightly different plastic than the abdomen, which is really interesting and as well as the skirt, because it came off really easily here. It took a lot more work on the abdomen and took even more work on the skirt to remove. So last bit is on the neck right here. We do need to be careful because even though the whole plastic is white, we do have the shoulder right there that's painted the blue that we want to retain. So I'm going to use the pointed cotton swab. Alright, removed from the neck. You can see I messed up a little bit, but if you have a steadier hand than me, then you can make it perfect. Last parts are gonna be the gloves. So let's go ahead and do both of those now. Alright, so here's our Cel shaded Mystique. Nothing on the head to remove, so that's not an issue. But we can see removed from the neck and the chest and the side. You can see it's removed mostly. I do have just a little bit left right there, but mostly removed from the skirt and then removed from the boots. This is a little bit messed up just because I let it get on there a little bit more than I should have, but that's my mistake, so learn from me. Hands were easy, the arms were easy, the chest was easy, and then we still have a couple more hands that we can do, and that should take no effort at all. I just did the two hands real quick. That was no big deal. And there you have it. So what did I learn this time? I learned that while cotton swabs are a great way to do it, that having a brush on hand is still a really good idea to have, especially if you're doing larger areas where you don't have to worry too much about messing up another paint, because if you're sure that the plastic is that one color, you can just kind of go at it. I would say that for sure you want to have both types of cotton swabs. You're going to want to have the kind that are a little bit pointy, and then the kind that are just kind of regular, just because I believe the pointed kind are just a little bit more expensive. So you want to use these sparingly, unless you really want to just go nuts with it. Up to you. The next thing that I have learned is that while it is useful to have a bowl of water to wash off the chemical as you need to, that it doesn't dilute as much as I thought it would. I believe I had an issue where as I was dipping to try to wash off, that it was actually in there enough that it was still rubbing off and removing some more of the paint. So either have a much larger bowl or be ready to just get a fresh batch of water to clean off and get rid of any of the chemical that's still in there. So keep that in mind if you're doing this. So overall, I do believe that using this chemical to remove paint is amazing and awesome, and I learned a lot from this video. I still am making mistakes, so I hope you enjoyed learning with me, and if you want to keep learning with me, then check out my morph video over here.